Is it written in your DNA? Is it something you can change? You've got a lot of
Meriden,
lines
could you ask them for some music?
on your face, you do. A line for every lie you're through. I've got the broken pieces to prove. Oh, and I don't know, and I don't know, and I don't know you. I don't know, and I don't know you. But I've
Welcome to Yogaxpress, the mobile stretch clinic that takes yoga to the people. I'm sure all of you listeners, viewers out there must have been listening to some wonderful music and wondering, who is that new voice? We are going to introduce, let me get the name right. Is it, would you say your name?
Kyriaki.
Kyriaki
Bozas.
Bozas. Kyriaki Bozas has a wonderful CD called Teacher. She's a musician. Kyriaki is a musician. But before we go ahead, let me introduce our other wonderful guests. And we also have a really very special guest here with us today. But let me start with the introductions. Josiane Hurd to my extreme right. Kyriaki Bozas, who is a musician, and she has this wonderful CD called Teacher, and we're going to have Kyriaki in one of our future episodes. Meanwhile, enjoy her music in the background. Every now and then you'll hear a little bit of her voice. And before I introduce our special guest, we have Janet Oldenbrook to my second to my left. And then we have Paul Pierog, who has very sportingly agreed to be here among all of us ladies. Paul studies movement, so he's been very curious. He's a producer here at MNN, and he's been around watching a lot of our episodes, and I was very tempted. I would always drag him in and say, come on, Paul. So this time he decided he would join us. Paul also does a lot of research, not only on movement, he also talks about, well, he's researched something for us, and we will have Paul in one of our future episodes about Shaolin's 18 lone hands. And Paul, you'll talk to that concept later in one of our future episodes, won't you?
Yes, I will.
Okay, before we go ahead, I'd like to introduce our very special guest here today, whose bio reads like a who's who in medical journals. Dr. Padmini Murthy, to my immediate left. Dr. Padmini is a physician who specializes in two critical areas of women's health: obstetrics and gynecology. I hope I got that right.
Yes, you
Quite
did.
a tongue twister there. She served in many countries before migrating to the United States, and now she's a physician here. So we are going to have an episode that is going to give all of our viewers out there a medical perspective on yoga stretching. The joys of yoga stretching are our perspective. Padmini is going to give us the health perspective. From a medical point of view, she's going to tell us why she believes that stretching in yoga is good for us and our body. Although Padmini's greater focus is on women's health, she is passionate about all aspects of public health. In fact, she has a master's in both public health as well as management. Minnie, she has permitted me to call her Minnie, so her name is getting shorter. From Dr. Padmini Murthy, I called her Padmini, and now she's become Minnie in the third part of the introduction.
Hope I won't disappear at the end of your episode.
No, you won't. Minnie to her very close friends. So now we've all had a chance to chat with Padmini before the episode started, before this taping started, so we're already close friends with her. Minnie works in diverse settings in the area of women's health issues, and as a policymaker and health practitioner, she strongly believes that women's health is directly linked to human rights. How is it related? We will find out after we do a few stretches and after Padmini tells us a little bit about what she does. She's also a faculty member at New York Medical College and NGO, which is non-governmental organization, co-representative of Medical Women's International Association to the United Nations. Padmini is all over the place, and I love the way her passion came through, not only on the phone, but also when I spoke with her directly. And I just had to have her on our show because I should not be the only one to benefit from her expertise. I want to share Padmini's expertise with all of you out there. Dr. Padmini Murthy serves on the board of the Eleanor Roosevelt Foundation and has been appointed chair of the Women's Rights Committee of the American Public Health Association. Another tongue twister. By the way, that is one of the largest associations of international public health professionals in the world. Thank you, Padmini, for being here with us today. We are really delighted to have you.
Thank you, Banu, and thank you for that introduction. It was totally unnecessary, but it was very kind of you, and thank you for having me, and thank you all for being on the show. And I think it's really great what you're doing in promoting yoga and its benefits.
Now we need to get your medical perspective. So what we're going to do is we'll try and talk, and if any of our participants have questions for Dr. Murthy, I think we have your permission to call you Padmini. If you have any questions, after I may have a few, and then if you have anything else, please feel free to ask her. First, I would like to find out, Padmini, what inspired you to, before I say create this book, I need to tell you folks out there, Padmini has written this wonderful book called Women's Global Health and Human Rights. This huge book. And how long did you spend writing this?
Well, actually, it took almost a year, because this book is unique in that it has contributors from all over the world. I have 65 contributors, and
Wow.
believe me, it was 42 chapters, and I authored some of them. It was not easy to get people giving that on time, and I felt like I was cracking the whip or something like that. But yes, it was done because it's just to promote human rights, and I'm so thankful to all my contributors who believed in me by contributing to this book.
Oh, now you folks out there, you feel free to contact Padmini. Her web link, actually the link to the pages in her book will be up on the screen every now and then. Feel free to write to her. Her email will also come up every now and then. Josh and Danny, if you can get Padmini's email up there, people can contact her. Feel free if you have any medically related questions which have some connection with yoga, especially in connection with yoga. If it's anything else outside of yoga, you have to pay her. But if it's connected with yoga, then it has something to do with this program.
I'll just try to do my best to answer them within my, as much as I can.
Right.
So I'd be happy to answer questions, but if it's something about women's health and human rights, which is more in my area of expertise, I would be happy to answer those too.
We'd love to have any questions. You can channel it through our website, yogaxpress.com, or write directly to Dr. Murthy. And I actually did want to ask you a couple of other questions in between our stretches, but when you talked about your inspiration for women's global health and human rights, I want to just tell you, I found this book fascinating. Now, I have to be honest, I haven't read the whole thing, but I did flip through, and that is the wonderful thing about this book. It's so easy to read. You can pick any page out of this book, and it's very, very readable. It's a wonderful job that you've done here. So, Padmini, tell us, what inspired you? When you did talk about what inspired you very briefly, but I know you're very passionate about women's health, but you're also passionate about people's health in general. Was there any one incident, that's what I'm trying to get out of you, was there one incident in your life that brought that up?
Actually, thank you for that question. It's really very interesting, and I'll try my best to answer it as clearly as I can without sounding like I'm giving my students a talk, which I usually do. Since I was a young girl growing up in India, I always was very much interested in public health, because a lot of times I felt that people have a wrong notion about health. They thought it's just like going to a doctor, when you're sick, or lack of access. But that's not what all health is about. Health is actually a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being, as defined, I just paraphrased it, a definition from the World Health Organization. But to give you a clear anecdote is, when I was a practicing physician, I saw that, so many times women's health issues were kind of in jeopardy because they did not have the permission, for example, to get contraceptives. I've worked in many diverse settings in various countries. They had to get the permission of their common law husband or partner. And then, women's abuse. So this really got me thinking, and I said is that we need to really look at women's health from a human rights perspective, because it might surprise you, even in the developing countries, there are so many instances where women are discriminated against. And just to talk briefly, is in the state of Ohio, a woman lost her job. She was fired from her job because she took bathroom breaks to feed her child too often. But her male colleagues, again, this is not a male bashing podium, but I just want to say that her male colleagues who took cigarette breaks were not punished, but she lost her job because she needed to go to the bathroom to pump out the breast milk to feed her infant.
Right.
And she lost her job. And it gets even more interesting. She went to court, and the lower court threw out the case, saying that there was no law which gave protection to women. So to me, this is a human rights issue.
Absolutely, I agree.
So these are, some of the instances which really, I could go on and on, but I don't want to do that. But just to let you know, because I don't like to use the term message, but the central theme of this book and what I'm very thankful to my contributors is they believed in me when I wanted to showcase why women's health is so important, because it's also, we need to understand that she has the same rights as men all over. So that is one of the reasons which prompted me to write this book.
So you think yoga might be one of the ways
Absolutely.
to improve women's health as well?
Definitely.
Fantastic.
You took the words out of my mouth, Banu, because it's a way of empowering women.
Right.
And also that you don't need anybody's permission. You can just do it.
Well,
and
that's the thing.
You can do it, in your living room.
Yoga
and
is
Paul
self-paced.
said something which really touched me before the show. He said he's wearing a very nice suit because he said he just wanted to show the viewers that you could do it in any place. So that's what, women can do it anywhere. I mean, literally anywhere you can do this.
We can experience the joy of stretching wherever we are, at the airport, standing in line, wearing a suit as Paul. And Paul, I really appreciate that you did that, even though you have that wonderful T-shirt that I want people to see. You decided to wear the coat because you wanted to show people they can stretch wherever they are and in whatever clothes
So
they have.
I hope I answered your question, Banu,
Yes,
in saying that,
you did.
so this is why, to help people understand the disparities and the challenges women face.
Right.
So, that's why I think it's so important. And I think we all are crusaders, that when we are, and one way is to promote yoga, is to tell people you're empowering themselves. So
Right.
that's what this whole
Well, the
concept
good thing
is about.
Yoga is self-paced. There's no competition. All we are doing is improving ourselves each day. In fact, Janet is a health practitioner too, aren't you? You're in health.
Yes.
Well, there you go. She's going to be on one of our future episodes. In fact, you've been out of my radar for a long time, so I have to get hold of you again. Looking forward to your views, Janet. Folks out there, just before we start stretching, we're going to get up as we talk anyway, just to let you know that it doesn't matter. No government health initiative is going to succeed if we cannot take responsibility for our own pain or progress. So let's get started. Let's do a few stretches. Today, what we're going to do is selectively stretch from this sequence, the 48 plus sequence. Before we start stretching, a little commercial for us. Our program, Yogaxpress, is based on a very simple ailment-specific stretch sequence called 48 plus. They're very, very basic stretches. They're ailment-specific. So what we're going to do is selectively choose 4 stretches from each of the ailments. One episode will cover four of the ailments, and in tomorrow's episode we'll do another 4 stretches from each of the other 4 ailments. So let's get started with, and I did get consensus from our team here about which stretches. So Josiane, with your permission, and Janet, both of you have been on my show before. For arthritis, we'll start with Utkat Asana, heels together. Padmini, you're not off the hook. We have a lot of questions for you. We're going to, stagger it in between our stretches. So heels together, toes slightly apart. Let's stagger our positions as well. Make sure we don't hit each other. Heels together, toes slightly apart. What we're going to do is inhale and bring our arms up to shoulder height with our palms facing in. And then as we exhale, we're going to go down as if we're sitting on a chair. After we do 4 of these knee bending stretches, Padmini is going to help us understand why or what ailment this would target. These are intended to help alleviate arthritis, also to prevent arthritis, but Padmini is going to give us a medical perspective after we do the stretches. Heels together, toes slightly apart, palms by your side. Inhale, bring your arms up to shoulder height. Exhale and bend as if you're going to sit in a chair. Keep exhaling. Try to keep your back upright without any tension. Keep your back straight even if you're not fully upright. Keep holding. Inhale, let's come up. Exhale, release the arms. We're going to go into another posture. Even though these postures, these stretches are not going to be sequential from our 48 plus sequence, we're actually just going to demonstrate a few knee benders. So take your left foot back just a little bit. Bring your right foot forward, both the feet with the toes facing forward. Exhale and bend both your knees and your left foot, the toes will curl in. Exhale. Wiggle your right foot forward a little more, especially if you're very tall. You may want more space between the legs. Keep going down. Keep exhaling. If you wish, you can place your left knee on the floor. Josiane, how are you doing? Because you did hurt your knee last time. Well, not on the show, thankfully, but I think your knees were, you were in pain. So let's keep our knee down. Paul, very nice. You're holding it. You want to go down all the way, or you're fine where you are? As long as you feel the knee bend, that's fine. Okay. Inhale. Let's come up. Take our left knee off the floor. Bring our left foot forward. And then take the right foot back. Keep your palms on the floor. Exhale. Bend your right knee. Place your right knee on the floor. Now you can uncurl your toes. That's fine. It doesn't matter. We make a mistake. We just get right past it. It's not a problem at all. Uncurl your toes. Take your hands off the floor. Place your hands on your left knee. This time, wiggle your left foot forward just a little more and see how deep you can get your hip to the ground. I like to say dip your hip. So you should feel a wonderful stretch in your quadriceps on the right, upper right thigh. Now, remember, what we're trying to do here is make sure that you get a wonderful knee bend. So, Dr. Murthy, with your permission, we are going to get our knees past the toes because I believe the Medical Association is very, very careful about getting the knees too far over the toes. So in yoga, we use a bit of a license.
Full disclosure, I'm not an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay. So we have your permission. Inhale.
I didn't say that.
Inhale, release this posture. Let's go back. Take the left foot back one more time. This time we had a wonderful dip. So we're going to take the right foot forward one more time. And this time feel a deeper stretch in the left leg, which goes back all the way. Uncurl your left leg and dip your hip down with your hands on your knee, right knee. Hold, keep your chest up. Okay, inhale, come back on your knees, place your hands on the floor, come on your knees, and this time make sure that your right knee is forward and the left knee is back. Keep wiggling your left foot all the way back. We're going to go into Kapot Asana. Kapot is pigeon. Now, what we're going to do is very slowly wiggle your right foot forward and dip, place your hip on the floor. And if you think that you're not ready to place your right hip on the floor today, you can use a brick. And Padmini, I'm going to give you this. Now, Padmini is doing the smart thing. In fact, we all do that. So is Paul. You want to make sure you don't hurt yourself. So at any given time, just do the best you can. Hold. Inhale. Bring both your knees together and then extend the right leg all the way out. Now wiggle your left foot forward just a little bit. This is kapot or pigeon. And keep your palms flat. That's it, very nice. Kiki, may I call you Kiki?
Yes.
Yes, that's very nice. And Josiane, in spite of your knee being injured, of course, we don't need to mention Janet's posture is beautiful as ever. Paul, not bad, not bad. Oh, that's good. Hold. Inhale, bring both your knees together. And this time we're going to sit down with our soles of our feet touching each other in Baddha Kona. Baddha Kona is a cobbler posture. I'm going to move this out of your way. Place your soles together, clasp your soles firmly, and if you need if you need a little bit of help getting your knees all the way down to the floor, use a brick or a block or use a blanket at home. And anyone need a block or a brick? No, it looks like we're all comfortable here. Now we're going to clasp our feet together and push your knees down. The idea is just to feel the knees bending and unbending. So in this posture, you've got your knees bent again. And then in a few seconds, Padmini is going to help us understand why it's important to do knee benders. Inhale and release. Padmini, we have a few questions. Now, we've been talking on this program about how knee benders are good. They help us prevent arthritis. We touched on it very, very lightly, talking about synovial fluid being released. Can you help us understand that a little more?
Well, I mean, I will try to the best of my ability to answer this. Again, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm not an orthopedic surgeon, but before I specifically answer that question, Banu, there's been a lot of research, and there have been the benefits of yoga in promoting arthritis, in helping arthritis,
right.
Reducing arthritis has been documented in many scientific and peer-reviewed journals. Actually, there have been almost 50 to 75 studies done over the past decade. And one of the things what happens is because the way it helps arthritis, as with any exercise, it helps to make the joints more flexible. And you talked about the synovial fluid. Well, synovial fluid is a good lubricant, and that's what we need. So it reduces the friction between the two bony surfaces rubbing against each other.
Nice.
And this is a controlled movement, the stretch.
Right.
You're not, and again, just to let you know that before you start doing this, you need to be talking to your medical provider, because each person has a different, range of motion.
Yes.
So don't do something and hurt yourself, but discuss this with your trainer, whether it's your yoga trainer, your health professional, and then do what is comfortable for you.
Exactly.
But the whole point of these knee stretches also for arthritis, it helps to improve the joint flexibility. And as with any exercise, it also helps to increase blood circulation.
That's wonderful. So we don't need anything
in a nutshell, that's how it helps you.
There's all the more reason to do a few more knee benders for arthritis-specific stretches. And to add to all of that, Padmini, it also feels great, doesn't it?
Yeah, because as with any exercise, you have your endorphins.
That's right. Every now and then.
And you feel good.
I know Paul objects to the word stretches, right, Paul? But you did feel good, didn't you? Yes?
Well, my ongoing discussion has to do with describing yoga as a stretch method and overemphasizing the word stretches.
Okay.
The technical use of the word stretches as part of movement is okay.
Arose by any other name. So
Yes,
if you don't
indeed.
want us to call it a stretch, we're going to, what should I call it?
You're welcome to use it in
Okay.
a limited way.
Limited way,
but
okay. Thank you,
Not-
Paul.
Not in my opinion.
No. Thank you. Well, I
To
appreciate
describe
that.
yoga primarily as stretching.
You're right. No, yoga is not
Yoga
only
is far
about
beyond
stretching. You're absolutely right. Yoga is not only about stretching. It's just a starting point. The physical aspect is just a starting point to help us feel the joy of stretching, and from there, we're hoping to reach different levels. Padmini,
And if I may
Yes.
say so, one of the other advantages of doing these these yogic postures and knee bends, I'm not using the word stretch, please note, Paul,
Bends.
is, I think you'll be happy, that brought a smile to his face, which is good, is also people with arthritis tend to lead sedentary lifestyles,
Right.
which actually is even worse, because if you don't use your joint, it really starts getting stiff. So these controlled and gradual movements can help to increase the range of
Right,
motion.
right.
So that's why, it's not only physicians who practice complementary medicine or homeopathy, but the whole medical world, the scientific community has been realizing the beneficial effects of yoga on arthritis.
Fantastic. Well said. So we couldn't have said it any better, and we will definitely make it a point to be very careful with the word stretches, Paul. Padmini, you did mention about women's health and human rights, and you gave us this wonderful example of the lady in Ohio. I have another question. If anyone else has something else to ask Padmini before I go ahead, I had a couple of questions that I put together. Janet, did you want to ask anything right now?
I
No.
did have a question about birth control methods and how that, how you view that as a human rights issue as well.
Oh, okay.
We have
May I-
about 3 minutes left,
Okay,
so
can
I'll
I
give you
take-
30 seconds of
yeah,
the stretch.
okay,
Go ahead.
well,
seconds.
first of all, let me, with birth control methods, well, there are different forms of birth control, as we know, and I think a woman has, what shall I say, has the right to consult her healthcare provider without getting permission from her husband or her partner, and that is why this is a human rights
Keep talking. Let's stand up.
issue, because you need to be talking about. She wants us to stand up, so let's
No, keep
stand up.
talking. I'm listening.
Okay,
We're listening.
so that's why I would say this is a human rights issue, as with anything else, is you really don't need somebody's permission or somebody else making the choice for you. So if a woman wants to use a birth control pills as opposed to a Depo-Provera injection, she has the right to do so after consulting with her physician. So
Right.
that's the underlying thing as to how it's a human rights, because she doesn't need her mother or her sister or her partner telling her, no, you got to do this and not this. That's why it's a human rights issue. I hope I've answered your question.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
going to do a few chest openers before we close. We have a couple of minutes, so maybe about 4 chest openers, and these are targeted towards preventing asthma. So basically, what we're trying to do is improve lung capacity by opening up our stretches. So heels together, toes slightly apart. It's a very simple stretch. Tighten your abdominal muscles, your gluteals, your lower back. Keep your heels together, your palms by your side. Inhale, take your arms up to shoulder height, palms facing down. Keep inhaling, take your arms all the way overhead, palms facing in. Clasp your palms together. Different schools may teach you different ways of clasping. That's fine. Whichever way it is, make the connection. And our head now, we're looking up, and our head is at midpoint. We tilt our pelvis forward just a little bit and exhale. Did I tilt our pelvis forward but tilt our head back? I'm sorry. Hold. Come up to midpoint. Inhale and exhale as we release our arms. Let's go sideways. We're going to go into a posture called Trikonasana or triangle posture. Okay, which way are we turning? Okay, left to the right. We're all turning to the right. Meriden, I hope we're not giving you a tough time by facing our back to the camera. Keep your feet about 3 feet. Keep your legs about 3 feet apart. Put your brakes on. Your toes are in. Inhale. Bring your arms up to shoulder height. We are going to exhale and dip our torso to the right. Then we inhale, come up, and we'll dip our torso to the left. Turn your right foot out just a little bit. Exhale. Dip your torso to the right. Take your right arm down in front of your right foot. Keep exhaling. Left arm goes up. Look up. Hold. Inhale, come up. Turn your right foot in. Turn your left foot out.